All right, guys, welcome back to the losers bracket, the elimination bracket for Alliance Tournament 15. I'm Elise Randolph, joined by Apophany. We've got End of Life and Skill Yourself, End of Life in red, bringing their flagship Armageddon. This is their flagship, and it is sitting proudly right up front. It is supported by double Stratios, double Myrmidon, Vexor Navy issue, a Purifier for bombs, and a Vengeance for tackle. Apophany, tell us about the Skill Yourself team.
Well, we have on the team skill, we have Armageddon, Navy Harp, Navy Brutix, Exec, T1 Cruiser Logi there, two Harbs, double Vigilant, Purifier, and a Daredevil. So downplaying the BAL, downplaying the full NBC core to fit in two 8-point visions, which are certainly very strong. They can put out as much DPS as those battle cruisers, and they're a lot faster, have the 90% webs, but they are a lot less tanky.
It should be interesting to see how this is going to work. This End of Life Armageddon is the flagship. The blue team does not have the flagship at all, but they do have a similar range with it. Both teams warp their getting in at 30. I think End of Life will be able to get its newts onto Lee Jansen pretty quickly, and probably also these Navy Harbingers.
Yep, so we only have 30 seconds now until the match starts. Really looking forward to this. How these two teams face against each other. It's really nice to see not only the mirrors where you have drones versus drones or NBCs versus NBCs. It's nice seeing how these archetypes, match up against each other. And I'm sure that we'll have some fantastic graphs seeing that the overall score between the archetypes from the guys upstairs and Alexei Escan, especially a massive shout out to him. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The match is soon to begin. Links going off. Let's see what the first primaries are.
Yeah, let's watch out for the Skill Yourself Vigilance. These guys are going to be very heavy, very durable tackle with their 90% webs. You can really brick tank them pretty decently, and even get them supported pretty well, even by an Executor. Purifier instantly zonked. These Harbingers and Navy Brutixes just zonked that Purifier straight out of the way. Good job for them clearing that damage out pretty quickly.
Yeah, those TDs were slow to apply, two kind of fast on the Vigilant, and here we go. TDs just landing now on the Harbs and the Navy Brutixes. I don't know what's fitting them, if it was just incredibly slow to lock, but those TDs needed to come a lot sooner to have any hope of saving that Purifier. We now have the Vexor Navy issue of hard name that we have going down. It's webbed, it's scrammed, it's neuted, it's painted, it's under reps, but it is struggling to stay alive.
Yeah, Hard Karnth is right in the middle there, just charging into the Skill Yourself team, and these Stratioses are definitely the ones with the tracking disruptors. Stratos, not a ship you generally see very often in these drone comms, but when they are used, it's because of their mid slots. As Hard Karnth goes down in that Vexor Navy issue, Skill Yourself, haven't really taken all that much damage. This Flaggeddon on the End of Life team isn't doing all that much. It's just counter-neuting out, warp outs, just normal getting.
Yeah, well, I mean, so we've got a kind of one-sided here. Skill are, taking pilots down admittedly slowly. The End of Life are just not managing to make much progress here. They've now got Harbinger into armor. The Exec reps aren't actually that big, but now we have the Exec scrammed away. This is the point at which End of Life may be able to make a turnaround in this match, but they are losing a Myrmidon.
Yeah, Lee Jansen in the Executor is tackled by Outback Oars' Vengeance pilot. That's what this Vengeance really good at doing. He is tackled quite far away from the rest of his team. Actually, he's still in rep range, just not... He's definitely in fall off in this Executor. So reps will be a little bit slower, but it doesn't really seem to matter. End of Life is losing another Myrmidon through reps. These tracking disruptors aren't doing nearly enough damage. Skill Yourself just comes in a little bit closer and applies full damage anyways. And End of Life managed to get their own Neros neuted out by the Skill Yourself Geddon. This Geddon from End of Life isn't being able to do anything. He's only neuting 1 or 2 ships at a time, and he is the flagship. He needs to be up in Skill Yourself's business, neuting these Harbingers, neuting this Geddon, neuting this Executor, doing something, but he's just neuting 1 Harbinger.
Yet Team Skill here, have, even though they're in the losers bracket, they've had a wonderful tear through. Each match has looked very, very strong for them. They've had quite a lot of dominating victories where they have lost very little to nothing, and are showing here again in this match against End of Life that they are definitely a team to fear. One of the underdogs coming through the losers bracket, taking down nerds, taking names, and showing us what they're made of for their first entry into the tournament.
Yeah, really good piloting from this Skill Yourself team. They're all up. These tracking disruptors from End of Life, there's an oppressive amount of tracking disruption, but these BCs don't care. They're just coming in close and applying their damage anyway. There's no damage mitigation at all. End of Life has their own Narrows tackled now, and these Harbingers are just, going to work. Skill Yourself finally is losing their Executor right now, piloted by Lee Jansen, but too little too late. He managed to out-survive his counterpart in the Oneros. If you can live longer in your Executor than Oneros, I think you'll take that trade every single day.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the bans of this match, Dominic's Ishtar, Blackbird, Hurricane Fleet, both teams then going into NBC versus drones. It's super interesting to see how the two main types of comp we see this year are so versatile, have so many replacements. There are certain comps in 80s past where, it was the key ship that made the comp, the Dominics or the Scorpion Navy issue or the Sleipnir, where you ban that, you ban the comp out. This year, these teams are based on a weapon type or an entire class of hull, so it's so much harder to ban out what you want to ban if you don't want to face a certain type of comp. So that means, with T1 Logi, with T2 Logifrigs going as well, that means that the typical Logi bans of Guardianeros or Simi Basilisk are also less effective. This tournament this year has just been incredible in so many ways. I cannot wait to watch the rest of it. This match too, even though it's been somewhat one-sided, Team Skill losing an exec there, so End of Life have certainly managed to take blood before going down, not losing 100-0. It's just such an amazing tournament so far.
Yeah, and you were talking about the matchups. I think if End of Life knew what skill Yourself was taking, they'd feel very confident. They have the tracking disruptors to deal with the battlecruiser hulls. They've got the control from the Geddon, but it was just a matter of execution here for the End of Life team. They just couldn't really get out and touch the Skill Yourself team. As the flag Geddon belonging to End of Life goes down, we'll be interested to see how this is fitted up. Crucially, I don't think End of Life will be able to shoot the wreck of the Geddon this time. So that flagship will be looted, and we see the Vexer for End of Life just, dying very, very slowly as Skill Yourself takes the victory lap, loots the field, and pats themselves on the back for this one. I'm sure Capcom is going to be very happy that End of Life banned the Blackbird for him because he's been jammed by EC 300s this entire match, this entire tournament, it feels like, and poor little guy is losing his mind because of it.
Yeah, and now we see the final ship going down for End of Life, the final Vexer. There it goes. So it's time to hand it back to Nikal and the analysts in the studio.
Would you say that has been a top tier target calling?
I would definitely say it's a unique tier target calling.
Should be fine.
Nope.
I love EVE Online!
We're back at Alliance Tournament 15, 2 flagships, 2 games. What a fantastic game to watch there. Team Skill, they're really pulling out the stops and just demolishing their competition right there. We've got a couple of things to discuss here. Geddon and Balgorn's very popular picks this tournament. I believe we have a graph of the most picked flagships so far, but definitely the Armageddon and Balgorn up there. There it is, fantastic. No, that's the battlecruisers breakdown. We'll go to that in a second. But yes, on that topic of Armageddons and Balgorns, why are these 2 ships so popular, Suetonia? What is it about them that people always want them to be their flagships for?
So the Balgorn has a bonus to web range, and of course the flagship rule allows you to violate the rules when it comes to tackle modules, when it comes to energy nudes, and also with damage modules and officer guns if you would like to use them. But where the Balgon really stands out is because it has those 3 utility highs. It's not entirely based on damage, like, for example, the Vindicator is, like the Nightmare is. Those 3 utility highs are really powerful. It allows you to run smart bombs. It allows you to run those Blood Raid and Nosferatus. It allows you to run neutralizers. Also, it benefits because of that web bonus we talked about. An Officer Web, you fit on there, Toby Web, that's double the effectiveness. So it just gets so much more with more ISK invested in it. Whereas a pimped out Vindicator, for example, yeah, sure, it might be doing 2000 DPS, but it's not really doing anything more special like the Balgon does that really allows you to bring different comps built around it, other than it's just a Vindicator that does 30% more damage.
Lots of options there. We do have a list of the remaining flagships in the game right now. As we can see, heavily skewed towards the Balgon right now being left in the game, although there are what looks to be 4 Armageddons left as well. So a lot of flagships died so far, Ithaca.
A couple of them have died so far, and the Balgon and the Geddon is usually we see them being the most popular flagships. I think the reason why a lot of people choose to take a Geddon over a Balgon is you get the range bonus instead of the web range bonus. So with very expensive newts, you can just newt out way further than almost anything else, apart from one of those sniper heavy newt meme fit curses that we saw last week.
Yes.
And if you couple an Armageddon with a Hyena, you can essentially have a poor man's Balgon.
Yes, indeed. Right, so we do have some winners for the 1 billion ISK prizes for the random selection of the winning votes. So to recap, let's have a look here. So in the Volta versus ABA game, it was Jalient Dark and Dark. That's hard to pronounce. Laserhawks versus Bright Side of Death, it was Shaktor Ordelis. Waffles versus Ronin, we have Mambu Gazu. And EOL versus Team Skill, we had Stalence taking the 1 build there. Enjoy your 1 billion ISK. I wonder what you will spend it on. Yeah, looking at the next game we have coming up here, we do have Thermodynamics versus Fraternity. So these guys, obviously, we've seen a lot in the past couple of days. So Tony, I mean, any leanings one way or the other for these guys?
I think both teams have something. They have a lot to prove. I think they really want to be in the 3rd weekend. Thermodynamics is a team with a lot of high-end, small gang roamers on TQ, based in wormholes, roaming from Thera, roaming from C2s. Fraternity, they're a team that did a really good deep run last year. They made it to the top 16. They knocked out a few favourites. So I think both of these teams are strong, and fortunately, only one of them is going to be going to the 3rd weekend.
Absolutely. And your thoughts, Ithaca? Thermodynamics or Fraternity?
I mean, I like the style that the Fraternity guys use. It is going to be quite a competitive match, I think. The Thermodynamics guys are not bad pilots at all. They're very skilled. So I think I would probably lean towards Fraternity. I'm going to Fraternity in this one.
Okay. And as we saw the battle cruisers graph, if we can bring that up once again, because I do have some thoughts on this and would like to see the results of what's happened so far. We have noticed that. Oh, there we go. So, yes, Saturnia. So, Brutic's Navy issue way up the top here. Harbinger Navy issue, again, coming in a close second. And even the Myrmidon quite close as well. So, these 3 ships, like pure juggernauts in this tournament so far. Are you surprised that these are so high, or are you surprised that others are much lower than you would expect?
No, I'm not surprised by those at all. We know the Brutic's Navy and the Harbinger Navy, they're a staple in the quad-core Navy, Navy battlecruiser comp. Myrmidon, again, and EOS shortly behind it, they're just core for that drone spam setup. Anything that I'm surprised to see? Maybe the Brutix, just the regular Brutix not doing so well. That seems a bit too low. Not many people are picking it instead of the Brutix Navy issue.
Yeah, I mean, the Harbinger, much higher up compared to its other T1 brother, the Brutix. Sadly, no Drakes, Ithaca. Does that make you sad, or is this just expected at this point? Drakes are dead.
You can see, it looks like actually maybe 1 or 2 people have actually decided to bring a Drake, but it hasn't gone well from them. Both Drake and Drake Navy issue with 0 wins. They're not in a good place, which is the garbage, unfortunately for them. But Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. You can almost see, you could probably graph like most picked comps over this and see your armor battlecruiser core is going to be very popular, and then your drones are next most popular, and you can kind of see that just looking at this. You've got the two kind of core ships from each of those setups just sitting together up at the top of the charts.
So when you're deciding to bring a quad BC core as part of your team composition, what sort of makes up the decision between, do I bring the Brutix Navy issue or do I bring the Harbinger Navy issue for this? Because both very, very popular.
Well, I think if you're trying to get quad battlecruiser cores, unless one of those have been banned out, why not bring both? Get the best of both worlds. They're your solid armor choices. You could go sort of balls to the wall and go blasters, but more likely I think we'll see rails for a lot of them, rails and beams. But yeah, armor battlecruiser core is a strong setup, and those are the two strongest choices to fit in it.
And Saturnia, armor BC is much more popular than shield BCs at the moment. Do you think that's just kind of due to the bans and other things, or do you think there's another kind of reason behind it?
I think it's because the armor version is stronger, mostly because they're relying on rep bots. What really makes those powerful is the fact that both those Harbingers and Brutix hulls, they have enough space for 5 medium rep bots, and they also have spare bay too, so they can also pack more bots, they can pack light damage drones, they can pack ECM drones on top of that. So just having that mix of rep bots is really effective, whereas ships like the Sleipnir and the Ferox, they don't get as much drones, they can't really run as many rep bots, so that sort of archetype isn't as powerful for them.
Yeah, definitely. Right, so I just want to give a quick shout out here to all of the AT teams and AT crews that are taking part throughout this entire tournament. As I've been saying earlier, there's a lot of work that's gone in from every single alliance that's come to this tournament, both from the people in that alliance that are supporting their AT team and also the AT pilots themselves. They have they have put in effort to basically go through many hours of AT training, maybe on Tranquility or on the test server, just practicing different ideas, practicing their piloting skills. So massive props to all of them for spending their time doing that and giving us some fantastic games to watch. Also need to give a shout out to all of the EVNT crew who have made this possible. We got some fantastic guys who may not be on camera, but they are doing immense amounts of work in the background, making this all flow extremely smoothly. So yes, complete thanks to them, and thank you for everything they've done. Right, now, going back to sort of meta. Drone meta is everything right now. We've seen so many different drone teams, we can't even count them right now. What we have noticed, though, is that in a lot of these games, regardless if it's a drone comp or not, there's been a lot of tracking disruptors in this. Obviously, tracking disruptors not going to be working on those drone boats because the drones aren't going to be affected. In this sort of situation, do you kind of think that teams should be still bringing tracking disruptors, or do you think they should kind of be cutting down due to the meta that we've seen?
Well, I think the meta is very equally divided between drones and the battlecruiser comp and sort of the shield rush comps. And I feel like if you cut tracking disruptors to get better against drones, then suddenly you're going to get killed a lot easier by the quad BCs, by the Sleipnir teams.
Yes. Fair enough. Anithika, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Suetonia. You have to, when you take a comp into the tournament, you have to be kind of prepared to fight a lot of different stuff. You can try and manipulate what you're going to field using like tactical banning, and we see some of the best teams doing very strategic banning to avoid facing things they don't want to face. But you can't just come in with a setup that beats one other setup and expect your opponent to bring that, because if they turn around and bring something else and you're set up to completely counter something that's not even on the field, then you're done. The other team will be like shooting chickens in a barrel. So
yeah. Chickens in the barrel. We do have a Flagships Destroyed graph that we can pull up on screen for you now. Suetonia, do you want to talk us through this one?
So this is the Flagships Destroyed. We've seen 7 Battlegorns destroyed in this tournament so far. Obviously, it's the most popular pick, so a lot more of them have died. We've seen 2 Flag Armageddons down and just 1 Vindicated down.
Yeah, surprisingly a low amount of Vindicators, considering that they, obviously are reduced in points due to the sponsoring. Yeah, I mean, Ithaca, do you think you'd want to see more Vindicator flagships coming out of this, or do you think that just in the current state compared to the Battlegorn and Armageddon, they don't fit the cut?
Yeah, I mean, the Vindicator's a lovely ship and all. It's just, it doesn't scale utility-wise as well as the Battlegorn. I mean, you pimp out a Vindicator with the flagship rules, and sure, you get a bit more damage, a bit more application, but that's really it. Whereas your Battlegorn, your Armageddon, even a Scorpion Navy, you just get much more utility. It's more bang for your buck, and scaling is the big thing. Like if you're going to drop, 40 to 90 billion on a flagship, you're going to want it to scale.
Fair enough. Right, so we're just checking on the players, seeing where we're at with that. So as a reminder, the next game coming up is Thermodynamics versus Fraternity. Yeah, as you mentioned before, both very, very high-skilled teams at this point. Expecting to get a good game out of both of these guys. Looking at the previous results, Thermodynamics took a win over Requiem Eternal, did lose versus Exodus, and won against Of Sound Mind. Fraternity won against Asteria Concord, then lost against Rote Capel, and won versus Whole Control. Right, so we do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors who made this event possible. We do have the ALT, the gaming lounge that we were talking about earlier. Went down there yesterday, fantastic place to be. Great fun all around there. The viewing party obviously still going on here. Some guys in the lobby are watching it. Thanks to all those guys who came down and supported us on the way. So now we're going to hand over to the casters who are going to take this game away. So off we go.